Hi, everybody. Okay. It is September 26, 2024. How are you guys doing? Floridians, Georgians, South Carolinians, especially. Already flooding. Okay. Hello. Geofactor 3, Alicia DeMoss, Analog Synth Player, and Sandra. You're in Citrus County, Florida, Inverness, about 20 miles from the Gulf. They're expecting a surge here in Crystal River at 18 feet, high tide at 2 a.m. Right where you live? Okay. Crazy Pots and Andrew Cruz, Kurt Dog. Been raining moderate all day, West North Carolina. No wind yet. Thanks for writing in, those who live in this area. Because wow, what I'm seeing on mainstream media and the horror that they are predicting, well, for the areas where they're predicting the horror, I haven't seen anybody living in that area yet, but it's Louisiana Skywatch, hello. Barb in Ohio, Jane Northrup, Jack Bauer. So, hi, T-Lam. Amber Eyes, Arkle 11, Agnes. Max Maximus. I hope you're okay, Max. I did read your comment. I captured it because I do want to do a live just responding to comments. And I'm very sorry you're having to deal with what you're dealing with alone. It's very hard going through very hard circumstances alone. And I just wanted you to know that I've been thinking about you, and I really hope that you're okay. Whatever okay means today. So, yeah, Mark Anthony. Oh, they've got it all now. Hurricanes used to just be hurricanes. Wind was the major characteristic of hurricanes. Now it's massive flooding, but also hail and tornadoes. There have been so many tornado warnings today. Life has changed. Natural processes taken over. Wow. Space Indian. Hi. And did I say hello, Tony? Hi, Tony. Waiting for the floodgates to open. DJ NAZTY. Hey, Boston, Massachusetts. Elizabeth, Rowdy Wood, Rick Yorkin. Hello. Tornado touchdown in North Carolina mountains yesterday. Unbelievable. Well, it's believable, of course, when man is controlling the weather. Radar. Whoops. Radar. Just shy of making landfall. Big Bend, North Florida, Panhandle. there has been a standing, extremely low frequency shooting, and it's been there for hours. It's not pulsing. They just have this extremely low frequency, which you can see, and I'll right here. And this area where that extremely low frequency is, there seems to have been a cutout of the precipitation that has been going on for hours. You can still see other frequencies right here, this curved line frequency. And I captured, I think, what? 2 captures. Look how right angled this, I don't even know what to call it anymore. This is off the Florida coast in the Atlantic. This has also been going on for hours. It's like they have this nanobot line feeding into Hurricane Helene. It's all the way in the Gulf of Mexico. But hey, we'll feed it more from Florida's East Coast. It's yeah, okay. And watching the broadcast today, I have to say it is pretty remarkable how many show you radar. They show you the extremely low frequency cutouts, also on the YouTube meteorologist channels like Ryan Hall. Huge cutouts. And they never mention them. Okay, so yeah, something's wrong with this. Another manufactured destructive bomb that has already been producing its destruction with the storm surges. Where is this going? Okay, so we're going to go off to the west. We'll just fly by. It's a flyby. Goodbye. Yeah, all of you are going up north, but we're going to go west. That shouldn't be. That's not a natural process of the air masses. That's a controlled air mass. And already they have a whole lot of power outages. 320,156 without power in Florida. In Georgia, 12,430. In North Carolina, 15,588. Those numbers are going to increase. They're going to increase. And when you see these right-angled, it's like an arm with the elbow. That's not Mother Nature. And yes, there were a lot of tornado warnings today, but we have active tornado warnings for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. Be very careful, Florida, in your counties of Charlotte, DeSoto, Hardee, Manatee, Sarasota. Georgia, Baker, Calhoun, Dougherty, Carroll counties. In South Carolina, Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester. So the link is in the chat. But what they are saying about this monster hurricane, no doubt it has frightened an awful lot of Floridians for sure. And when you know what they can do without a hurricane, this how I feel. These kinds of headlines, these kinds of reports, mainstream media, yeah, it does make me nervous, and I'm not even in line for the hurricane. No, there aren't any right angles with Mother Nature. Why are you writing sound? Why are you writing sound? Something to chew on. I'm not sharing the screen yet. What the hell is going on? Okay. This is all set up. I set this up already. Look, guys, I'm so sorry. I set it up. I make sure that the screen is there, that the audio is on, and I don't know what the hell. I'm so tired. I'm really, someone's in my computer. Someone is messing around. And I could tell you, examples, but I don't want to. So you didn't see any of this. Is that right? Wow. Well, the reason why I share the screen right after, I get the live posted is so I don't forget. So if you didn't see the right angle right there, and here is the standing extremely low frequency that has been there for hours. For hours. Here is, well, you have the hurricane in the Gulf, but you also have it being fed by, as far as I'm concerned, nanobots off the east coast of Florida. Well, that's unusual. As you can see, there's no precipitation. It's like cut out. Could this extremely low frequency be causing that? And yes, the flyby, we're going to go off to the west. You guys can go up north. Nothing is quite right. Here are the power outages that I spoke of. The tornado warnings, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and of course, the severe weathers, Florida and Georgia. And only one severe weather warning? Charlton, Clinch, Ware, Georgia? Okay, that's a little odd. So I apologize. Max, I don't know if you're talking to me, but if you are, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about. So yes, the headlines. The monster hurricane. Hurricane Helene becomes Category 4 hours away from Florida landfall. And It's going to make landfall along Florida's Big Bend region. Look at this. Sheriff's deadly warning as Hurricane Helene barrels toward major southern city, bracing monstrous landfall. Expected to reach Category 4. Impact on residents and businesses could be unprecedented. Storm surges up to 20 feet. Taylor County Sheriff's Office has sounded the alarm on the dire situation, asking residents who don't evacuate, and there have been mandatory evacuations. Yes, those who don't, please write your names and birthdays on your body parts so you can be identified with a permanent marker. Include with that information address, number of people who live at your residence, any animals present. This seems to have came up quickly, this hurricane, this massive hurricane. I remember the hurricanes that we used to get. People knew what was coming for quite a while. So, am I off with that? Didn't this kind of come about quickly? Tampa is already experiencing flooding. Roads underwater. Hundreds may die. Around 200 residents who are refusing to evacuate low-lying regions close to the coast could die. If you're just bound and determined to stay and not get out of harm's way, go and take a black magic marker, write your name, social security number, everything on your arm so we can identify you. Don't like telling people that, but it is going on. That's a death threat because you're looking at it. Okay. And we also have Helene storm surge floods Tampa, Fort Myers as massive storm looms off Florida Gulf Coast, 20 feet in some areas. Mandatory evacuations issued for numerous counties. National Weather Service in Tallahassee has warned of unsurvivable water levels in Appalachia Bay. Given the monster storm size and strength, the storm surge could be among the worst ever seen in this part of Florida. There's already streets flooded in Naples. Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, St. Petersburg. Oh, this is really big. And one needs to question the size, right? Let me just show you some captures I took earlier. All right, this was today at 8:18 a.m. Well, that means it was 10:18 Florida. Look at this. Oh my God, is this big? It is a monster. Look at how large it is. Look at that right angled turn for the clouds. And then it looks like you have a hurricane going on in Canada. You have this cloud mass coming down. You have this cloud mass going up. You have the clouds boiling up. No. Manufactured. Look at this. Look at this. It does. It looks like, oh, you got an arm in there and it's bending its elbow. Here you have all of what I believe are nanobots creating cumulus cloud, stick in this thing that, well, it's very large. So this was 10:55 my time, so it was about 1:55 in the afternoon, and it's very rare that you see at 1, 2 in the afternoon all of these Doppler radars operating. Why are they operating? Perhaps to affect the monster hurricane Helene.
Obviously, we know the inflation numbers are fake. Obviously, we know the inflation numbers are fake. It was like 3 times higher than that at a minimum. So anyway, U.S. economy grew.
Here, this was at what time? At 1. No, I'm sorry. At, I think 3, just about 3 p.m. Here's that extremely low frequency. And again, no precipitation there. We're carving that area out for no damage. Yeah. And this I just took at about 4:30. You can see, look at the size of this. Come on. It's all the way up North Canada. It's so frustrating. Wow, this is going very fast. Oh my God, I've got to catch up. Yes, you can see the right angled cut right in the center of Hurricane Helene. You can see the ripples, all of the microwaves. All of this is going down south, what I believe to be nanobots. And here we're going to swing the air mass off to the east, and underneath the air mass is going to continue to go north, and it's also going to, another air mass is pushing the underneath cloud to the west. Air mass is going in all these different directions, and air mass going at different speeds causes chaos, causes a whole lot of chaos in the atmosphere. Oh, gee. And they can bring about a lot of damage. They sprayed the east coast of Canada heavily for a week now. Well, I just hate what people have to suffer. So, storm surge, Pinellas County, Gulfport, Florida. Yes, electromagnetic frequencies, the technology that they have, they can create these storm surges. Venice, Florida. And this is all before Hurricane Helene actually makes landfall. This is in Naples, Florida. Clearwater, Florida. Venice, Florida. So this is actually hours before the hurricane actually got to where I showed you it is on radar right now. Okay. I'm just going to play this out. Why not? Listen to the readers.
It is a storm so fierce it may end up physically reshaping Florida's Gulf Coast. One of the largest storms to come out of the Gulf of Mexico in the last century is about to slam Florida. CNN's Michael Yoshida is on the ground tracking Hurricane Helene. And Michael, those who have stayed behind are now being warned to take shelter.
Hey there, Cynthia. You mentioned it. The warning now changing as Helene makes its way closer to Florida. We're right in that big area where Helene expected to make landfall. Put in perspective, we're right on this river, the Gulf Coast, just right beyond that point. So here, it's that area of storm surge concern, 20 or so feet potentially. That's why officials now urging everyone to potentially hunker down and take this storm seriously.
Every minute that goes by brings us closer to having conditions that are going to be simply too dangerous to navigate.
The National Weather Service is using another term, unsurvivable. When it comes to the storm surge, Helene is expected to unleash on parts of the Florida coast in the coming hours.
If it's 20 feet like they're saying, it's going to change the landscape in Franklin County, I can assure you that.
Franklin and Taylor counties are in Helene's expected landfall zone, but for much of Florida's Gulf Coast, mandatory evacuations have been in place since Wednesday, with state and local officials imploring residents, leave while you can.
Some people have made decisions that they're going to hunker down, even though they were requested to leave.
Regardless of that, the governor says rescue crews are standing by.
If there's people that are going to be in distress, we're going to be there to be able to assist in those efforts.
Their message now, survival.
If you hear trees snapping around your home, treat it like a tornado. Get to an interior portion of your home, get as low as you can.
And silence, officials warn, doesn't mean safe.
What that actually means is you're in the eye of the hurricane. All right? Do not go out and survey damage.
An eye that could be up to 50 miles wide, with more catastrophic conditions less than an hour behind it. Helene is expected to roar up the southeastern U.S., with impacts felt as far north as D.C. in the days ahead. Right now, along with Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia are under a state of emergency.
And at this marina, the owner tells me, based on previous hurricanes and storms, he expects this dock to actually be lifted up potentially above the top of this pole here. That's why they've decided to tie everything down, so they potentially keep it from floating away if that happens. That's just one reason why the storm waters, those strong winds, are so concerning to those in this community. Cynthia?
Virginia. Virginia. This is a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Do you ever remember, growing up or as a young adult, ever hearing of a hurricane coming to Florida and Virginia declares a state of emergency? That's what all that cloud mass is about. Oklahoma, I showed you that supercell, right? With the frequencies on like the north, east, and south of the supercell, all hitting that supercell.
Ariel's car.
Look over here. It is completely took this out. Look at that.
Hailstorm wreaks havoc on Oklahoma City in September 2024.
Dumbass hail.
A powerful hailstorm swept through Oklahoma City in September 2024, causing significant damage to property and leaving residents reeling from the unexpected natural disaster.
Unexpected. The link is in the chat if you want to watch the entire video. South Carolina. So this is what happens when we don't have mainstream media all over it. Oh my God, monster, hurricane, it's category 4. This is just weather.
Yeah, Tori, that business owner tells me he was here just 15 minutes before this tree came down, and he's so happy that nobody was inside this building when the tree fell. If you take a look behind me, you can really see the damage. This tree was completely covering the building, and now you can see some of it has been shaved away. Again, nobody was hurt. This is the office for Muncaster Financial Group. So it's an office that the owner tells me they would use not only for clients, but sometimes they would treat their clients. Maybe the night before a concert, they would let them come here and hang out. Now we have some video of what it looked like earlier. You can really see the size of this tree and how it was engulfing the building, making parts of it collapse. I spoke with the business owner earlier today.
Honestly, couldn't believe it. I was told a tree had fallen on the house. I knew which one, knew the size of it. Never could have imagined the damage and devastation that it caused. The damage upstairs is extensive. The ceiling is separated from the walls. The floors are soaking wet. Cracks throughout. The ceiling's going to fall at any moment, probably when they go to pull the tree off.
Now, this wasn't the only building that was damaged. If you take a look right here, you can see this is another tree that fell on a home on this street. So there's a lot of trees down, a lot of cleanup to be done. The owner says, considering that we have more bad weather on the way, they are concerned. They plan to secure and tarp down as much as they can of this building until tomorrow afternoon. Now, coming up at 5 o'clock, I spoke with some people who own a business just down the street. They were here when that tree fell down, so I'll have their interview coming up at 5 o'clock.
And now Hurricane Helene is coming. Flooding in parts of Sarasota County.
Just to give you an idea how deep this water is, I mean, look, we're all the way up to our ankles in water. That's how deep this is. So if you're going through here, you're really going to risk and compromise your vehicle. And that's what we're seeing, right? That's the storm surge. That's the 5 to 8 feet. That's double what we saw during Idalia. So of course, with all this water, that is going to be extremely problematic. We haven't even seen that large intense rain yet. So this is just like we were saying, this is still the early process, and things that of course can get worse.
And it looks like it's going to. So this is Mexico. The end of the world has come after Hurricane Helene in Mexico. Gotta love these titles on these weather channels.
The information in the video shows an incident in Cancun, Mexico. Hurricane Helen, strengthened from a tropical storm, struck the coastal Mexican state of Quintana Roo. The hurricane brought heavy winds and strong winds to Cancun and surrounding areas. Classified as a Category 1 storm, it formed on Wednesday morning and unleashed its fury in the Caribbean Sea. Its destructive eye is now moving towards Florida's coastline with increasing intensity as it approaches.
So be very careful, you guys in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina. Ecuador. Bad fires.
Ahora la hoguera saltó del otro lado de la vía, señores. Del otro lado de la vía saltó la hoguera, señores.
The information in the video shows an incident in Quito, Ecuador.
Let's just hear a news report about what's taking place in Quito, Ecuador.
On the other hand, a raging wildfire filled Ecuador's capital of Quito with smoke and is threatening homes as authorities rush to control the blaze at a time when historic drought has stretched resources and patience. Over 100 families have been evacuated as a precaution, while the Education Ministry canceled classes in Quito's metropolitan area. President said that armed forces have been deployed to fight the fire, which started around midday in the Bohemian Guapulo neighborhood and gradually spread to nearby residences and forested areas.
Firefighters cannot work because they don't have the means. I'm looking for tankers, as many people close to me have made donations, but we don't find tankers. We don't have any solution but to pray so that the wildfire stops, because we cannot do anything else than throw buckets of water.
No deaths or serious injuries have been reported so far. Quito's firefighting force said its contingents were fully deployed and that its units would be fighting fires throughout the night. Now, in the residential district of Bella Vista, northeast of Quito, residents formed human chains to pour water on the pavement while elderly people left their homes with the help of police and soldiers. Daniel Noboa mobilized the armed forces in response to the fires. Over the past year, 3,302 forest fires have been recorded, burning 93,400 acres of vegetation. According to a report published by the Risk Secretariat, 14 people have been injured, 797 affected, and 44,742 livestock have died. Of the country's 24 provinces, 20 are on red alert due to water crisis that is endangering 99,000 acres of crops.
Okay, well, fuel leak backs up traffic on I-80. You know how many backups we have on our interstates all over the country? Oh, semi-trucks just flipping over, catching fire, or it's some mad man who's shooting at drivers on the interstate. Oh, Yeah, this is the new normal.
A semi-truck caused a traffic delay on I-80 East in Trumbull County this morning. It happened just before 11 in Wethersfield. The fire chief told us the drive shaft came off the truck and it hit the fuel tank. Over 30 gallons of fuel leaked onto the road. Crews were able to get it contained and started cleaning it up. The Ohio EPA has been notified. Traffic was impacted for at least an hour.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Watson.
And we have utility companies just digging holes on people's property without giving them any notice. Let's just say corporations, utility companies, government officials. You're wanting them to communicate to you about what is going to be taking place on your property? You have to be crazy. This is the new world. It is the new America. So, government officials, utility companies, corporations, they don't regard you as a human being to be respected. And that property you think you own, forget about it. Eventually, you'll get to know, oh, I don't own it.
Centerpoint is apologizing to a homeowner after digging massive holes in his yard without giving him any notice. And he wasn't the only one surprised by the digging. Only on KHOU 11, those neighbors are sharing their story with Amanda Henderson, live in Northwest Houston tonight. Amanda.
Yeah, you can imagine they are frustrated and they're also confused because take a look at how big and how deep these holes are. This is just one example on this road up here in Northwest Houston neighborhood. And one of these homeowners calling us today saying he had no idea this was going to happen until he opened his door to see the holes in his yard and couldn't get much information from Centerpoint. So that's when we stepped in to make some calls. This video came as a total surprise to Amanda Dawson.
Yeah, I actually came home from vacation yesterday.
And this is what she arrived home to see in her Northwest Houston neighborhood. Dawson is one of several people whose front yards are now decorated with these massive holes. This is the only heads up Dawson says she was given.
I would wonder if, just a knock on the doorbell is enough. I didn't get any literature on the front door or anything in my mail. Just like, one knock that obviously went unanswered because I wasn't home.
Dawson isn't the only one feeling left in the dark. A few doors down, Jay Boatner says he only found out about the holes being dug after opening his front door.
They were digging up the dirt, and I asked them what's going on.
Boatner says the workers told him they were with Centerpoint.
I'm not trying to stop them from working. Communications would have been great, and I would at least have an understanding what's going on.
We wanted those answers too, so we went straight to Centerpoint. In a statement, they say they want to sincerely apologize for the lack of communication and have addressed it with their team, noting this project is to identify utilities ahead of a planned one to modernize their system.
Or either go and open the door and they can tell me that way.
I have an animal, so we're fenced in, but a lot of people walk their animals around here, so they got to be careful now about their animals falling into these holes.
They don't notify them? Okay. This is purposeful. Get it, Americans. You just are not on the radar anymore. They don't give a shit. They do not care about you, your property. They just do whatever the hell they want. Too bad. All right, fine. Well, sorry about not notifying you. We'll try to do better the next time. Yeah. Okay, so I'm nervous about this hurricane. So already, there's an awful lot of people who are experiencing a lot of rain. Chattanooga, I just read in the comment or in the chat, getting an awful lot of rain. So well, there's power outages, so I don't know if I have any subscribers in this area in Florida in particular who could weigh in. It's along the upper West Coast and Panhandle. Yeah. Your sister had to sell her house, because they were expanding a parking lot. All right. Well, we're going to move on to other subjects. You know that we're experiencing a depression, right? Like the Great Depression. Do you know that? That's happening. So the food lines, the Great Depression, there were people who were okay. That's a whole lot of you guys. But we're in that already. And it's going to get, wow, great. What governments are doing, making it very hard for people to sell their property, especially in Florida, with this new legislation that demands all of these condo owners to have their inspections of the condominium, make sure that it's safe, and whatever needs to be repaired, they are mandated to make those repairs. Who pays for the repairs? The individual owners of the condominiums. So they're having a whole lot of difficulty selling because this has gotten so much press that people just don't want to buy anymore. And people are being hit with like $100,000 individually for the individual condo owner. Okay. They pay fees. Why weren't those fees used to make the improvements that were necessary? And if they were not necessary, the actual owner of the entire building really should be paying and not just passing it off to the individual tenants, right?
And Kathleen Pasadomo does not believe it's in the best interest to do so.
This has been on the market for 218 days.
At $214,000.
At 214, a mile to the beach. This condo has been on the market for 398 days. Currently on the market are 2,691 active listings. Normally, it would be maybe 800, 900.
Redfin reports in July, the Tampa housing market saw the highest jump in HOA fees year over year, up 17%, citing two reasons. Reform after the Surfside collapse, forcing condo associations to make safety repairs and pass those costs to condo owners, and insurance costs still rising.
We need to get the word out to Tallahassee that you have to do something.
In a statement earlier this month, Senate President Kathleen Pasadomo does not believe it's in the best interest to do so. Instead, she wants to wait until after the elections for all lawmakers to discuss this at next year's legislative session.
Leaving those condo owners in the lurch. Now, just listen to a few minutes of this. That unemployment number that our government is putting out, 4.2, is such bullshit. It is. But there are Americans who believe it. There are Americans who, I am not going to look for the truth. I want to believe it. Because if the unemployment figures are that low, that means an awful lot of people are working and the economy is strong, just what Kamala is saying. And then they don't have to do anything to even help their family members who are struggling. They can judge those who can't find a job. What do you mean? There are so many jobs out there. This is one of the dangers of lying. Because for those who are hurting, they if you believe the lies, a whole lot don't get helped. They just get judged. It's really sad that we're here. But, the dark mud that we're all just sinking in is really going to get darker and harder to climb out. No, we're just going to keep sinking down.
And so now now they're forecasting 4.4% unemployment. But we know that's not the real unemployment because, as you've taught us on this show and other people have talked about on the show, they don't count unemployment the way they used to count unemployment in the 80s. They count it way differently. And if they count it correctly, it would be somewhere over 10%. Some people say 15. You say upwards of 20%.
I'm just using the old-fashioned way of counting. It's not my number. It's the number that was used for hundreds of years to count unemployment. Says the number is 25%.
And let's remember that during the Great Depression, the unemployment rate was 25%.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think, you hear all these rosy forecasts about the economy and people talking nicely about the economy, but they use this phony unemployment number. We're really living through something. I see people hurting all over the place. People without enough money to afford their groceries, which have doubled, and their housing prices, which have doubled since 2010. Their salaries haven't doubled. Right, we're going to talk about that. Right, we're going to talk about that in a second. But so that's the news is they've cut 0.5% off the interest rate. And according to that news report I played from Yahoo, they're going to cut it like 6 more times going forward. That's the plan anyway. Yeah. And why would they be wanting to do that? Because they see the economy slowing down. They see us going into a recession, as this guy just said. They see
depression. Okay, so when I hear, all right, 25% unemployment, which is, I believe him. Okay, others that I have read have said the same thing, that it's a farce, all of these figures that are put out by our government. Think about all of these people who can't find work. How much is going on out there that we don't know, that we never get to see? With so many people feeling stressed, living just in survival mode, this is going to blow up more and more every single day. I wish we had worked really hard to establish community in our country, reverse the social engineering of the breakdown of community, because I don't see a lot of people making it. Yeah, I know. I'm so negative. All right, listen to this woman.
You're not indecisive. You're just trying to make it. I'm going to tell you a conversation I had with my mom the other day. My mom is a baby boomer. She was born in 62. And we were having a conversation about, you know, today's workforce and my situation in particular, how I've tried so many different things since the age of 18. I'll be 38 in November. So I've been out here in this workforce for about 20 years. Okay. And it's felt like a complete prison sentence. And my mom always says, I don't listen to her. I don't listen to her. And it pisses me off and it hurts my feelings at the same time, because it's like, it's a lot of people that don't have their mother. So they miss out on that wisdom. They got to rely on it from other places. And you don't know if the advice that's coming from somebody else is even authentic. They may have it in the back of their head. They giving you advice that they know ain't gonna lead you to where you need to be, just to be vindictive like that. Like, that's the world we live in, right? So I'm blessed to have my mom. I'm very grateful. So she always says I don't listen to her. And finally, the other day, I broke it down. I said, Mom, what you need to understand is that you are a baby boomer. And when you were coming up in the 70s, and you know, you were a young adult, 20s and up in the 80s, you were being raised by people who respected commitment, dignity. They carried themselves different. I don't know what the generation is before baby boomers, what they let's just call them the golden era, because that's what it is. Okay. I told her, I said, you were being raised by people that have my granddaddy fought in Vietnam. No, he didn't fight in Vietnam. He fought in Korea. Dropped out of high school, dropped out of school in the 5th grade, had a 5th grade education, lied about his age and got into the army. Okay. The people that was born back in that time, before the baby boomers, that gave birth to the baby boomers, they had a different kind of hustle. And the hustle was respected by people. So they were being raised, my mom was being raised by people that carried themselves differently. They were taught, if you want to live the American dream, you get a job, you show up on time, you go above and beyond, and it will be honored with job security. It will be honored with benefits so you can take care of your family. It'll be honored with you being able to retire and not worry about nothing. Now, in our generation, I'm a millennial, born in 86, and I'm in the healthcare field, and I can't stand it. Okay. I am working with people that are the same age as me in management. And oftentimes in the healthcare field, anybody going to school to be a nurse, it's not about compassion anymore. It's not about palliative care. It's about, I'm going to be a nurse and make my family proud and make a check. So I might be, as a CNA, I might be working with a chick 22 years old and I'm almost 40. And then we got that age gap. And then we got generations that don't honor commitment. They don't honor dignity. They don't honor coming to work on time. They don't honor you doing your job. They be like, okay, you do your job. Okay, you got a job description. You're supposed to do that. You show up on time. Okay, what you agreed to when you took the job, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You want a cookie? That's how they act. And then when you working with people that are younger than you, they're not worried about how you do the job. They worried about whether it's something in you that they don't like. They don't like the fact that on payday you walked in with your hair done, but they got Tyrone at home playing video games and eating up all their kids' Lunchables, and they on their 4th double shift this week paying all the bills. So now they want to make sure they give you a hard time. Because how am I a nurse and you a CNA walking in here looking better than me? You know, that's the kind of thing that I run into as a millennial in this workforce. So I had to explain to her, like, Mom, it's not that I don't listen to you, but it's just some things relationally, I ain't going to be able to listen to you because you don't get it. We from a different time. While you thinking I'm being indecisive, I'm just out here trying to make it. I'm out here trying to find my way. We care a lot about mental health now. Baby boomers and all that, they didn't worry about no mental health. It's a guy I watch on Instagram he is so authentic, because he was acting like the parent. You know, kids now, they go to therapy and everything else. So he was like, when you told your parents you was depressed, they be like, oh, well, depress your ass up and wash them dishes. Like they didn't acknowledge that. You get up and you go at it. So this is for anybody who has an older parent that feel like, if you got an entrepreneurial mindset, which a lot of people got that, you almost have to have it now. If you don't have it, you have to cultivate it, because people are not honoring work ethic anymore. They not honoring it no more. It's inflation out here. Ain't nobody gonna come to work and be disrespected and not have, it's a whole lot of people that come to work and they do what they want to do. Ain't nobody gonna be doing it the right way and come to work and be disrespected. Who's doing that? So for anybody who's got an older parent, a baby boomer that feel like they indecisive, that feel like you indecisive because you're trying to do this and that, and I know it's people out there that is people looking at them like they indecisive. It's about survival mode out here, baby. You got to survive. And if you don't have an entrepreneurial spirit, you have got to cultivate that. Because that's.
And she's right. And yeah, baby boomers, myself being one, if you're not recognizing that there are incredibly just huge differences, our generation and the generations that came after, wow, then how you respond to the millennials, to the Gen Zs, maybe not so much the Gen Xs, but really, if you're not recognizing their circumstances, then you can't offer them. You can't offer them any solace. You can't offer them any advice if you're still stuck in your baby boomer thinking that just go out there and work hard and you'll get the American dream. Very different time. She was absolutely right. Very beginning. Mom, it's a different time. And it's a bad time. And it's a horrible time for an awful lot of baby boomers, but for more so for the younger generations. That has to be acknowledged. That has to be acknowledged. And listen to this, man. Oh boy, this is what we get, right? Sickening, disgusting.
When the middle class is strong, America is strong. And we can build a stronger middle class. The American economy, we know this here. The American economy is the most powerful force for innovation and wealth creation in human history. We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work. And like generations before us, let us be inspired by what is possible. When the middle class is strong, America is strong.
Okay. Do you see how incredibly screwed up our country is? That this thing is actually running for the presidency? What failed policies are you talking about? Yours? Because you've been in Washington, D.C. for a long time. So what failed policies are you talking about? Or was she almost about to say the failed policies of the Trump administration? She's not going to make anything better. We know that. Right? Absolutely. So many people are hurting. And once again, we're giving $8 billion to Ukraine. All right. I don't know why we put up with this. The middle class is dying. It's on its deathbed. And how many people are losing their jobs? Disney, 300 corporate layoffs. 200 from Stellantis again. The Sterling Heights Assembly Plant, 200. 16 from F5. I'm just reading the numbers, not the percentages of, the work, the employees of the company. 2,000 Exo Noel, 33 from Ellis Hospital, 54 at the Washington Post, Dart Container, 250, 45 Libra Industries, 1,600 Battery Giant North Volt, 1,600 in Sweden. Another health, wow, hospitals are closing. In the health field, a whole lot of people are being laid off. Airlines are, Hawaiian Airlines, 1,400. Bristol Myers Squibb in New Jersey, 79, an additional 79. YMCA, Minneapolis, 69. 62 online ordering provider, Olo. 160, United Health, Optum. Charter Communications, 124. GE Vernova, 900. Warner Music, an additional 150. Qualcomm, 226, San Diego. General Motors, 680. Temporary layoffs? Temporary? Really? We'll see. New Haven Drug Company, BioXL, 15. Wells Fargo, additional 47. 90 layoffs possible. Technical Response Incorporated in Tennessee. 112 from IBM, Bay Area. AGC Biologics, 85, Boulder, Colorado. Cisco, 5,600 in second round of layoffs. In second round of layoffs, 5,600. We're in big doo-doo. CarePoint, 2,600 possible layoffs. Udemy, 280. 269 DHL trucking. These people who are being laid off, you have to understand that there are almost no jobs comparable to the job that they just lost. U.S. prepares $8 billion in arms aid packages. So that's our reality. More and more people are being laid off in huge numbers. They won't find a job that is similar to the job that they lost, which means that, wow, it's a big lifestyle change that creates stress, more to be laid off. And we have all of these Americans, more added to the pile every single day, who are really suffering. We have an awful lot of Americans who just don't give a shit, like landlords, who are just raising the rents. Right here, there was a place that I thought I might be able to get into if there was an apartment vacant, that I could afford because it was subsidized. Just learned that new owner, and they don't do the subsidies anymore. So the apartment rents have skyrocketed. So when you're one that really feels it, you get to see how many people are really suffering. And you also get to see how many people don't care. So, $8 billion for war, billions to Israel, nothing for Americans. Local government is offering a real estate investor $10,000 a month to rent an Airbnb property for illegal migrants. He's considering the deal. It would provide him with more than 4 times his usual income if he rents it long term. Well, money talks in America. The link is in the chat. You might be able to play it. I can't. How many Americans are screwing over other Americans? It's amazing how many developers, how many contractors are just walking away with the money that they got from people to build these homes. That's happening more and more. People just don't give a shit how they treat other people anymore. That's going to make Americans blow.
Understood that, hey, hey, we ran into another.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Our first story tonight may sting if you or someone you know has ever been stung by a builder, home builder. A couple in North Texas is feeling that pain tonight. Their journey to having their dream home, forever home, built from scratch has come crashing down. They say after the company who was building their home suddenly canceled the contract near the very end of the process, which many call the closing. Now, we have the couple on The Factor Uncensored tonight with a warning if you're ever getting a home built, you should know about.
How about this is in Texas. How about in Virginia?
Tonight, our team is highlighting another Virginia contractor accused of leaving several families with unfinished houses and new properties that were poorly constructed.
Our Larry Miller spoke with the families and the contractor in this latest controversy. It's a WUSA 9 investigation you will only see right here.
We noticed that the builder actually cut a corner. This was to be our forever home. It turned out to be just a nightmare.
All of those gaps are throughout the windows. We have to replace all of those. We were so stressed. It was insane.
I don't know where all of the money is from 5 to 6 families.
After seeing our previous series calling out the contractor, 3 other families in Northern Virginia reached out to us with their own story. In various lawsuits, they say that Greg Dempsey with Stonehill Builders committed fraud, larceny, and violated Virginia's Consumer Protection Act. Now these families are fighting to get their money and their lives back on track.
How does this continue to happen?
The homeowners say Dempsey and his company Stonehill Builders turned their lives upside down, causing them to lose millions of dollars collectively. In court documents, Tammy Hartzler said the builder was in breach of the Virginia Consumer Protection Act and misrepresented that the home had been properly built with good workmanship. She hired Dempsey and Stonehill Builders in 2013 to build her $800,000 custom home in Haymarket. And once she and her family moved in, the problems popped up.
And it was the winter of 2014. And all of a sudden, the heat goes out. We had cracks starting to appear across the ceilings, the walls. The corner beads were popping off. Our sink fell out, one thing after another.
While she admits Dempsey did do some repairs, they were minimal and only a 2x4 to hold the sink in place.
There has to be this sort of sinking feeling in your stomach about, man, what have we gotten ourselves into?
Yes.
We're supposed to have a deck. That's not going to happen.
And then there's Elizabeth Fouché. Dempsey was contracted by Fouché in December of 2021 to build a $1.5 million house for her family in Knoxville, Virginia.
There was no windows, no doors, no roof. So water was getting in all the house. The wood started warping. We had cracks all over the foundation. And we're like, okay, what's going on?
Well, according to Elizabeth Fouché, not much. She showed us around. Now she and her family are working together on weeknights and weekends to turn this shell into a home.
All the money right now is coming out of course, our pockets, from savings or from the college funds for my daughters.
It's like you're almost having to rob Peter to pay Paul at this point.
Robbing Peter means robbing yourself.
That's exactly how Sean Hess and his wife Lindsay feel. The couple signed a contract with Dempsey to construct their custom home in February of 2021. They too encountered delay after delay, even as Greg Dempsey drew funds from their home construction loan. And as their move-in date approached,
we finally get an email back from Greg indicating that they're ready to start framing. Perfect, we're excited, let's go. He said, well, we got a little bit of a problem. The framing package went up $97,000.
This was a problem for the Hesses because the cost of the framing package was already included in the contract. Their attorney advised them to pay the extra cost and to have Dempsey sign an addendum to the contract. And as construction began, they saw more red flags.
This board is super brittle and dark. So we ended up having a shoddy framing job. It was rotted wood, it was disheveled, it was warped. They said, oh, we'll replace those pieces. No, they installed them.
The couple say there was extended periods of time with no progress made on their house. And when another move-in deadline came and went, they fired Dempsey, leaving them on their own.
We literally paid for the house to be built out of savings, 401k, maxed out credit cards, and friends and family doing the painting, the electrical, the plumbing, the roof, the foundation, the framing package, all of the wood. He never paid for any of it. Where'd the money go?
We had that question and more for Dempsey. Why?
This is happening. I've shown it on live streams. Okay. Did something go really wrong with Americans in terms of their behavior and how they treat one another? Or have we always been like this? And now we're just showing our true colors? Why did he stop communicating with the families? FBI whistleblower urges Americans to vote. Arm yourselves, stock up 3 to 4 months supply of food, water, and pray. This is a warning to the American people, I say. I personally have no confidence the FBI will rein in its own conduct. Marcus Allen, former FBI staff operations specialist, choked up as he spoke about his years of suffering for lawfully expressing dissent for the actions of the FBI and Department of Justice. And of course, the higher-ups accused him of promoting conspiratorial views, unreliable information, misinformation. Well, let's see.
And everybody in the minority party, they're fearing what Donald Trump would do in the next administration while they sit here and they look at the guy who's been persecuted by the FBI. And everybody in the room understands it. Mr. Allen, do you have comments you wish to make? I'll give you about a minute, minute and a half, and then I want to turn the rest of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I would just say that I consider the hearing today my last act of service as a public servant for the United States of America. And I'll give you my professional opinion. I was an intel professional for our country for many years, and I would give recommendations, and I'd also look at indications and warnings. So I would offer this to the American people as my warning to them. Since this is a warning to the American people, I say, I personally have no confidence that the FBI will rein in its own conduct. I've been persecuted along with Garrett, Steve and Kyle, and countless other whistleblowers. It is my opinion that the Bureau used reprisal and fear to control the workforce. It has been a seemingly effective tactic. I personally believe that there are no current effective checks and balances against them conducting lawless action with any type of correction in a legitimate time frame. I welcome the work of the IG, but I think any type of lawless action, there's no legitimate time frame to rein them back in. Their ability to overclassify information can allow them to stonewall forever. To the American people, you have a duty as a citizen to vote, and I strongly urge you to do so. It's how you participate in the American experience. I know people have doubts about election integrity, but you must vote. It is your claim. Stake your claim and don't forfeit it willingly. Have your voice heard. My other recommendations are in the natural order. First, vote. The second is the Second Amendment. Arm yourself and know how to defend yourself. Make 3 to 4 friends in your neighborhood and promise to come to each other's mutual aid in times of hardship. And during the Great Depression, people stocked up a pantry. So I think that's a good practice, especially in our economic times, and make sure you have 3 to 4 months of food. As a person of faith, I'd say pray the rosary, go to the First Friday devotions. That's for everybody, all my brothers and sisters of all faiths, and I know I'm Catholic, and read the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and live it every day. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for the time.
You know, Mr. Allen, the fact that there are servants like you who have borne up under persecution that a lot of political leaders in this country do not care about is the thing that heartens the American people. And I'm confident the American people will resolve the situation.
Oh, Steve Ladner. How many times did he use his badge to do awful things to people? Come on, man. You know, people say I'm negative. You know, that means that everyone who works in law enforcement, everyone who has worked for the FBI, you know, is just an evil shithead doing horrible things to people. Every one of them. So people who make those comments, it's so presumptuous because they don't know every one of them. There are people who actually get into those fields with good intentions. And after working for a while, they realize, I got to get out of here. They wake up. Not everybody wakes up at the exact same time you wake up, Steve, or I wake up, or, you know, why do we want to grind everybody down? What's that about? Rosary not biblical. Oh, I was afraid when I heard that. I was like, oh, that's going to cause a whole lot of division. People have their beliefs and they differ. And they differ from other people's beliefs. And you know what? They have a right to have their beliefs just like you have a right to have your beliefs. Six shot in South LA. More people were shot today. I just didn't bring them up. Customer reportedly unhappy with order causes $8,000 in damage during an outburst. So there are a lot of people who see what's happening, and that's probably why they're warning people to get armed. And yeah, probably the most important thing he said there, make friends with some of your neighbors and make sure that you have one another's back. But yeah, people are going nuts.
Headquarters with more on this story tonight. Walter.
That's right, Rick. It is bizarre video, but sadly not altogether uncommon. And as you'll see in that video, whatever happened ended with a very unhappy customer. The whole thing unfolded very early yesterday morning along the 2200 block of North Broad Street inside the Crown Fried and Grilled Chicken restaurant. This video shows what happened after a female customer became upset about something involving her order. Upset enough to go on a rampage. By the time she left, the suspect had destroyed enough of the store interior and broken enough electronic equipment to leave behind more than $8,000 in damage. Unfortunately, this kind of behavior is not altogether unusual.
It's not altogether unusual. It's the American way now. A new Canada community snitch program. Boy, are we turning into, the tyranny's fast. We're going fast. It will give corrupt organizations like the Canadian Anti-Hate Network back pay and an astronomical amount of taxpayer funds to target Canadians they politically disagree with. It appears the government is creating its own migrant Gestapo to stomp out Canadians who disagree with their progressive political agenda. Trudeau's criminal associate, Dominic LeBlanc, announced big changes to the government community security program, which will ultimately lead to a large web of anti-hate organizations nationwide, tightening the noose with their webs. I will post the link if you want to listen to this guy announce this new snitch program. And did you know, I didn't, Kamala's husband family makes puberty blockers? They're making an awful lot of money. And this is the BBC. So Kamala Harris's spouse's family has ties to the largest manufacturer of puberty blockers. Immediate family members of the Emhoff family. It's the largest manufacturer of puberty blockers. See how freaking sick, evil are so many people in this country? Unfortunately, a whole lot are in positions of power. Unbelievable that they are, but they are. One particular puberty blocker, Lupron, causes, well, essentially sterility, which could lead to a large generation of Americans who can't have children. So here, Kamala Harris was already suspected of a conflict of interest related to her spouse. In 2015, California prosecutors, led by Harris, declined to to open an investigation against Herbalife for fraudulent marketing. This is unrelated, but oh my God, the corruption is just so thorough. Herbalife was represented by Venable LLP, a law firm owned by Harris's spouse. And all of the corruption Americans know how corrupt their government is. A whole lot of them know. And still, we just go about our business like, hey, isn't that weird? Aren't we a weird people? We are a weird people. So, I actually have a lot opened on Israel. Yeah, Hezbollah, Israel, US sending, and UK now sending troops over. The war expands. Hezbollah bombed another military base in Israel, an Air Force base. One guy who has an awful lot of responsibility in the world's despair, the United States, #1 in terms of responsibility for the world's despair. In his final United Nations address, he talks acknowledging the world's despair, but had nothing to do with us. And wow. Now, this is not Biden. It is not Biden. Biden does seem to have a whole lot of different faces, but listen to this bullshit. Yeah, Americans, man, you never get tired of the bullshit, do you?
See difficulties and react with despair, but I do not.
President Biden delivered his final speech at the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York earlier today. The president took the opportunity to address the wars in Ukraine, the Middle East, and the situation in Sudan, touting his long career in politics and calling on fellow leaders to, quote, stand firm on the principles that unite us amid the difficult challenges facing the world.
I know many look at the world today and see difficulties and react with despair, but I do not. I won't.
I do not react with despair, and I won't, because I love it. I love it. I, along with my military, are causing an awful lot of it. We love it. And apparently so do a lot of Americans.
As leaders, we don't have the luxury. I recognize the challenges from Ukraine to Gaza to Sudan and beyond. War, hunger, terrorism, brutality. But maybe because all I've seen and all we have done together over the decades, I have hope. I know there is a way forward.
For more on
What a brilliant parting speech, huh? I know there's a way forward. Yeah, we're dropping bombs everywhere. Military-industrial complex is our #1 industry. To hell with Americans who are suffering. Billions going over for more despair, more despair. Ukraine, Sudan, all over. How can Americans actually listen to that and not feel disgusted, repulsed by the psychopathic liar that he is. So Israel's pager attack in Lebanon will blow back. Western tech cannot be trusted anymore. No. We've known that we hold weapons of war in our hands. Weapons. We're all doing the cell phone thing. They're weapons. And we got to know how they can blow them up. So we even heard from Leon Panetta. Okay, pretty amazing that this guy, Leon, former CIA director under Clinton, and he actually, under Clinton, he actually came out and said that Israel blowing up the pagers and other tech was terrorism. Wow. So when people like Leon Panetta come out and say something like that, I have to wonder, now we know it was terrorism, but why is he coming out with the truth? I'm always suspect with these guys who actually then come out with the truth.
Remember that pager attack? Remember Israel had all those pagers blow up in Lebanon? They said it was only Hezbollah, but that's we said that's the classic, because that's classic terrorism, right? Guess who agrees with it? The ex-CIA director. So, Jimmy, why do you listen to a CIA director? They're all liars. Well, when they tell a truth that goes against their, that's when you can believe them. Former CIA director Leon Panetta calls Israel's explosive pager operation terrorism. Here he was. He's doing an interview on CBS. Here, want to hear it? Here it is.
Ability to be able to place an explosive in technology that is very prevalent these days, and turn it into a war of terror, really, a war of terror. This is something new.
Is it terrorism?
I don't think there's any question that it's a form of terrorism. This has gone right into the supply chain, right into the supply chain. And when you have terror going into the supply chain, it makes people ask the question, what the hell is next?
It sounds like you're genuinely worried.
I am. This is a tactic that has repercussions. And we really don't know what those repercussions are going to be. The forces of war are largely in control right now of what's going on.
Do you think there should be condemnation for it? Should other nations step in, including us?
I think it's going to be very important for the nations of the world to have a serious discussion about whether or not this isn't an area that everybody has to focus on, because if they don't try to deal with it now, mark my word, it is the battlefield of the future.
All right, so yeah, two parties, one boss. I was very, very upset to see one particular senator or representative, senator from Wyoming be all out for the child killing of Palestinians. What sickness do we have?
Are you here to lobby on behalf of Hezbollah as well?
She's a terrorist sympathizer.
Are you here to lobby on behalf of Hezbollah as well?
She's a terrorist sympathizer. They're just weird. They're not weird. You're weird. Favorite congressman.
Are you here to lobby on behalf of Hezbollah as well?
Are you concerned about what Israel is doing in Lebanon?
Well, I'm concerned that Hezbollah has fired more than 8,000 rockets against Israel.
Do you think
so Israel's defending itself?
Is the blowing up of
displacement
the
of up to-
pagers an act of
It
terrorism?
was actually the most precise attack against terrorists in
There were
world history.
civilians that were killed in that,
It
and
was
even
almost
Leon Panetta
exclusively
called it
terrorists.
an act of terrorism.
But I know you're here to lobby for Hezbollah.
Oh, well, you're here to lobby for AIPAC every single day.
No, I'm here to
Are you
lobby for Americans who care about the U.S.-Israel relationship.
And what about more troops being sent to the region? Doesn't that concern you? We might be dragged into a war. What do you think about the bombing of Lebanon? What do you think about the bombing of Lebanon?
How are you? She's a terrorist sympathizer.
I'm a terrorist sympathizer.
It's a bit awkward.
You know, did you hear Leon Panetta say the blowing up of the pagers was terrorism?
This is how they all act.
Do you think it's terrorism to blow up people's walkie-talkies and pagers?
in that region.
I'm talking to the congresswoman. Do you think that's terrorism?
No, you're just yelling.
Is it terrorism? Is it terrorism to blow up people's pagers and walkie-talkies?
That's the weird part, is they think this helps.
Well, it would help if you would stop supporting the terrorist acts
I know,
of
they're just
Israel,
weird.
like sending 2 shipments of weapons every single day.
I keep asking her who's funding.
Do you know who's funding me? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. But is AIPAC is funding you. We know that. Because of AIPAC, you're willing to let Israel carry out acts of terrorism. Do you know that 500 people were killed in Lebanon yesterday? Congresswoman, does that worry you at all? Does that concern you? And you know, U.S. is sending more troops to the region.
Weird.
We're not weird. You're weird. You're weird because it's been a year now that you've been supporting Israel's genocide. That is weird. It's worse than weird. Do you have any concern about the U.S. sending more troops into the region? Does it concern you that Israel is trying to drag us into a war with Lebanon and Iran? Congresswoman, is that a concern to you? Do you think it's okay what Israel is doing in Lebanon? I know you support what they've been doing in Gaza. Well, she is one of the worst Congress people around. She accuses us of being funded by, I don't know who it is, communists somewhere, and she's the one funded by AIPAC, and that's why she condones everything that Israel does.
That's very upsetting. Because I thought Harriet was, having heard her doing her speeches on the floor of Congress. This is the first time that I heard this. That's how people respond to one another. I'm not going to talk to you. You're just weird. You're funded. Who are you funded by? Weird? Whole lot of innocent people are being murdered. Lebanon, Palestine, not just Gaza, West Bank. Children? How many? How many have died? They don't care. This is how psychopathic we are as a nation, because nobody really cares. That's pretty not only sad, but frightening. Oh, and the lying, the unbelievable lying that goes on and on and on. Americans know about the lying and they still don't do anything. Blinken lied. State Department caught withholding humanitarian aid from Gaza. That's what we do. It's not just Israel. It's also United States. It's not just Israelis. It's also Americans.
Wider war may be breaking out in the Middle East. Israel has intercepted the first Hezbollah missile aimed at Tel Aviv. This comes after Israel's attack on southern Lebanon, already displacing more than 500,000 people. The brazen pager attack last week, when Israel wired hundreds of pagers purportedly owned by Hezbollah operatives to simultaneously explode across Lebanon, clearly signaling a heightened intensity between the two sides. Now, let's not forget that the year anniversary of when Hamas launched an incursion into Israel and took hundreds of Israeli civilians hostage, killing 1,200 people. This act of terrorism spurred Israel's brutal response that has flattened Gaza and killed more than 40,000 Palestinians and dashed remaining hopes for a two-state solution.
Now, looking back on the war in Gaza to date, there's ample blame to go around. ProPublica's Brett Murphy is reporting that the US government's two foremost authorities on humanitarian assistance concluded this past spring that Israel had deliberately blocked deliveries of food and medicine into Gaza. Now, that's groundbreaking given that US law requires the government to cut off weapon shipments to countries that prevent the delivery of US-backed humanitarian aid. Yet, when Secretary of State Tony Blinken was presented with these findings, he rejected them. And in a statement to Congress, he said, quote, "We do not currently assess that the Israeli government is prohibiting or otherwise restricting the transport or delivery of US humanitarian assistance." ProPublica's Brett Murphy joins us now to discuss it all. Brett,
and I'll post the link if anybody is interested in hearing the evidence that, yes, indeed, the blocking of the supplies, needed supplies in Gaza, that would have meant that we no longer ship over all of these arms. But no, we're just going to deny all of the independent reports. We'll just keep denying it and keep sending over our missiles, our arms, our troops. Oh, yeah, because we want to be engaged in the killing frenzy as well. I am so sick of this country, boy. So I'm going to do these tomorrow night. Look. Yeah, well, I saw a comment, yeah, hearts will grow cold. Okay, maybe that was a warning to make sure that your heart doesn't grow cold. And you know what? Hearts that grow cold were cold already. Cold already. Because if your heart's warm, then that's what your heart is. Unless you're real young and you've been making decisions that have been to topple everybody so that you can be a material success. And yeah, your heart could grow cold, I guess, but a whole lot of people need a lot of help. A lot of help. They're going down. So if you have anybody in your family or you have friends who are struggling, reach out to them. Reach out to them. Help them. Help your communities. Help your food banks. Help your animal shelters. Doesn't take much to pick up an extra bag of dog food. In fact, it's probably easy in an awful lot of supermarkets. They usually have the bins where you can drop off pet food for the shelters. Just try to help out. So let me just take a look at radar, because where are my Floridian? I haven't seen my Floridians. Look at this. Okay, so this is not looking good. Look at how right angled. The eye of the storm doesn't look like it is round. Looks like a square. We're just going to branch out the hurricane because all of this is connected. So the hurricane has not made landfall, the eye of the hurricane in Florida yet, but we still have a whole lot. What are these the bands of rain? It's on up into Virginia and Kentucky. You go, girl. Tomorrow morning, I'm afraid to look. Double the number. Double the number. 2 hours ago, it was 320 plus thousands without power. Now, it's 631,143 without power. Georgia has gone up 25,000, 11,000 in North Carolina. So, and if you're close to that area and you can get down there and help some of these people, do it. Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth. All right. So maybe we don't have any more Floridians in house, but stay safe. You will be on my mind for sure. You guys, Georgia, all over. It's every day more people getting destroyed. All right. Thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Please live honestly, speak honestly, be trustworthy. Those types of people are desperately needed. And on that note, I say good night, good luck. Ciao, guys.